Trump to become elected president. There's a bigger plan that is going to change the course of history, the course of the United States and worldwide government.
So it feeds into this idea that there are certain elite organizations, families that are controlling the world and put people in power.
And we're starting to see kind of these connections, at least, with what's going on in the world today.
If you were to go back a year ago and tell me that the Federal Reserve was made over an ancient Native American sacrificial monument in Georgia, I'd be like, okay, buddy.
This is the first
Take
time
a walk.
I'm hearing. I think this is the first time I'm hearing this.
Yeah.
Gentlemen, so good to have you on Encounter today. Finally, good to see you.
Yes,
Hey, good to
thanks
see you
for
too, man.
having us, bud.
Well, we've been watching your stuff for a long time. And I don't know, Evan, when did they start versus when did we really start focusing on media?
We really started kind of early 2023, late 2022. I don't know when you guys got into it.
You mean
It's close to
23?
that. We're at 2022.
September 2022. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we beat you.
Okay. Oh, man.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, we're going to get into you cover some of the weirdest stories, some of the most interesting stories, some of the best content. By the way, guys, the link for their podcast is in the description. We want every one of you to subscribe and follow and hit that little bell so you get notified whenever they do post a program, because it's so interesting. And I want to talk about some of the more interesting stuff, from is NASA building cages for Megalodon to is the FFA lying about drones, and why are they lying about the drones? But first, I want to talk about this journey, where you guys come from. You started as, well, one of you was a youth pastor and the other one was in Bible college. Where did you two come from, and how did you get connected?
You go first.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I was born in Montana, but I traveled all over, and I ended up going to Ozark Christian College in Joplin, Missouri, and I was youth pastor there, did some comedy stuff, some skits and things, and then that got his attention, and so I came and got hired here in 2019, and so ever since then, we've just been doing videos, and then a few years later, we started the podcast, and we've just been having a blast with it.
So you got hired
I
there.
love
to
it
do,
here.
so what was going on there?
So I literally just, I was happy and content being a youth pastor in Southwest Missouri, and then out of
Yeah, and
nowhere,
at the time, I was doing the skits
Yeah.
for like youth groups.
all by
and-
himself.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah. And so he was doing all that by himself. And so he was looking to hire somebody, but he didn't really know who. And we met, got a job offer, probably a little too soon than expected, just because they're, it was just kind of a gamble. And so I moved down here with my family, and we just started writing. Literally the first day I think I got here, we wrote a last minute sermon on rugs. And ever since then, it's just been comedy gold. So as people have said,
Rugs. R-U-G-S.
yeah, rugs. Yep. Rugs. Yeah.
And what was this sermon about? Rugs.
It's basically, the whole concept was Carl, his character, would literally just be like, listen, youth pastors, you guys procrastinate. You probably need a lesson for tonight, and you haven't prepared one. So I'm going to give you can point anything to Jesus. So he would just pick the most random thing. We've done pizza. We've done, I can't even, dinosaurs. And so we're looking around the room. What can we think of? And we just thought rugs. And I'm like, yeah, I could write some stuff on rugs. So I was his big helper on just taking the stress of always coming up with the creative ideas or writing, and it became just a dual effort at that point.
And it was the most random, bizarre skit. Typically didn't make any sense, but churches loved it, youth pastors loved it, and then it just ended up forming into the podcast we have now. So, which
And how many followers do you have across platforms?
Got 1.5 on YouTube, and then probably with TikTok and Instagram and everything, it's probably 2.5 maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's wild.
Something like that, maybe a little bit more.
Entirely organic, or did you put a little juice behind that?
Oh, that's all organic.
Yeah.
Wow.
We've just been, with the podcast, we post every day. We've just
Not a
upload-
podcast every day. We take our
Clips and
podcast
stuff.
and cut up into clips.
Yep.
So we're posting a clip of our podcast every single day. Basically trying to just be like that annoying friend that's like always calling you or texting you.
Hey,
And
have
then
you heard of
people
chemtrails? Hey, have you heard of chemtrails?
Exactly. And so that definitely helped our reach and our growth.
So
It's
where
been
did you
pretty
where
rad.
did you where did you get a passion for this, doing video? Because we've certainly developed a passion for helping ministers and churches reach people through YouTube and other media sources. How about you? Where did this come from?
Probably just being a middle child. I just love attention. So gonna get it from my dad, and he doesn't have a dad, so he
I
wants
need all the
too.
attention. Yeah. So, but it's funny because like I did videos all growing up, just like especially in high school, I really just loved creating funny videos and stuff like that. But there's archive footage of him as like a 4-year-old out in the front yard just in his diaper or underwear. I mean, you were
A
wearing
diaper
you
as
were
a
wearing a diaper or a
4-year-old,
4-year-old,
yeah.
yeah. And
This
just
is
with a
a-
video camera and stuff like that. So like we've all just been doing videos for a long time, and so it's really cool just to have the opportunity to literally create videos for fun now. Just
Well,
goof off.
I was about to say you should remake your first video, but I changed my mind. I don't think that would be.
We do. I got a video of Andy in a diaper. It was for my daughter's gender reveal.
Probably our most viral video of all time.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he painted his body pink and then came out of a trailer with a adult diaper on.
Cue the clip of Andy in an adult diaper.
Yeah,
There we
our
go.
You
editors
could
will
easily find it.
this.
I promise you
Just
that.
rip it off.
Yeah.
And did I not see Andy dressed up as Dorothy
Yes.
as well?
Yes. Yeah.
So
That was just it was weird coincidence that it was actual Halloween that day as well. So
Some
that was
kind of
good planning.
strange pattern is developing here.
Yeah.
with
it's just
Andy.
my own preference. Yeah. It's like whatever I can do. The less clothes I can wear, please. And they just appease me.
Floridians.
Floridians. For sure. Wow. So Evan, how did you get connected with these guys? You started watching their content.
Okay, so yeah, so in early 2023, I
You
started
stole
posting.
their stuff.
I did not steal their stuff.
Yeah.
So in 2023, I started posting these vertical videos on our channel, learning from Think Media out in western U.S. and started posting some vertical videos, and we were getting a couple million views. And I had these very specific things I did to my edits with the captions and the way it flowed. And then I see one of y'all's shorts pop up a month or two later, and it's almost the exact same
A
style.
month or two later, right.
A month
Oh,
or two
word.
later.
Right.
And so I'm thinking, these guys,
Sure.
they totally stole this from us.
Yeah, but you stole it from them, right?
I had never seen them. So I think we're just kindred spirits in that sense.
We probably stole it from you. Let's just.
Yeah, we'll find out in
Sean
court.
admitted it.
Yeah.
Great artist steal. Did you guys? Are you guys familiar with Think Media, Sean Cannell?
That sounds very familiar.
I'm not sure if I am.
Or you guys would love them.
Yeah, any of you who are interested in diving into media, you need to check out Think Media. But it's pretty amazing.
But yeah, we did a video on Portals to Hell that I got like, I don't know, 25, 30 million views across TikTok and YouTube and Instagram.
Nice.
And so we were kind of on a roll. And then I saw you guys posting similar shorts about Nephilim. And I was like, come on.
Well, let me go ahead and say their stuff is far superior.
It is.
Far superior.
Oh, easy.
And it's amazing. It's amazing. I love watching your stuff on TikTok. We're always at night as a family. We kind of gather around and we watch the highlighted TikToks before we go to bed at night. And
Nice.
you guys are often included in our nightly routine. So I don't know if that
Nice.
creeps you out in any way, but
No,
just-
that's an honor because me and my wife do the same thing every night. We always watch our TikToks. So I'm honored to be in your home.
Virtually tucking you in.
Kind of creepy.
So when did you realize that this was going to be the direction you go in? Because you're hiring staff and all that kind of stuff. But when did you realize this is what I want to do? This is gonna provide for me and my family and be a benefit to the body of Christ.
I mean, I guess just really when it just started taking off, like when it became. I mean, it grew so fast, like
Yeah.
way faster than we ever expected it to grow. And what was so fun about it was that, at least with the skit stuff, like we'd have to very much prep for that stuff of like just like location of shooting, script writing, filming, editing, which we still film and edit. But at least with the podcast, we could be just our true, authentic selves and just kind of like walk into a room and start discussing whatever we've come across that past week. And then it's such an easy format. Not saying that there's not work that goes into it. It's a ton of work, but very easy and doable, at least for the three of us. There's only three of us working within the content. And yeah, we just realized we could just keep plugging along and doing this same thing. So
And it creates content that people actually like watching. That was the crazy thing for me, where it's like, I don't know if people are going to watch this. And then I think it was like our 6th or 7th episode. I'm just rewatching some of it, going back through and pulling some things. And I think it was like our 6th or 7th episode. We had like 50,000 subscribers on Instagram. And I'm like, oh, I didn't even remember that. I'm like, that's crazy. And it's just fun things like that. Where like, I don't understand fully why people like it. I don't understand fully like why God has us doing this. But while, I'm dressed up as a woman sometimes in videos, and my grandpa, I'm pretty sure, had a Purple Heart in the war. And so it's like the comparison's wild.
Well, don't
So it's
blame that
like,
on
but
God.
yeah,
I don't
yeah,
understand why
exactly.
God
But
has me
yeah.
dressing up like a woman. That's what you just said. I don't understand why
Hey,
God has me dressing like a woman.
no,
Let's not blame
he
that on
told me
him.
in a dream. He said,
Yeah.
"Put on a dress," and I said, "Okay, cool, perfect." It might have just been a commercial that was on while I was
I
sleeping,
mean,
but who cares?
Ezekiel had a little worse.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not going to talk about what he had to do. But
That's true. So you guys were always doing this, commenting on whatever's in the cultural zeitgeist, whatever's trending. Because I know you started doing comedy things for youth groups. You
hmm
guys, there wasn't a decision point where you said we're going in this direction. It was just always organically like this.
I mean, I've always loved conspiracy theories and like the hidden truths, and I mean, it started with, sorry if this is not going to relate
Come
to
on.
so well with your audience, but 9/11,
Too soon.
and just go. We don't never forget. Um, but just like ever since I was young, I've just been like, that doesn't seem right. Buildings just don't fall like that.
Fourth grade, Josh says.
Fourth grade, Josh is. He should
The-
watch
I mean,
this.
you were listening to too much Alex Jones. That's
Oh yeah, probably.
I'm just kidding.
Prophet Alex Jones.
Mhm.
Just kidding.
He's been right about as much as any other prophet that's out there
Yeah, that's
claiming to
true.
predict things.
It's a
So
little
you guys start
concerning.
doing this. What are some of the wildest stories that you've covered that just you cannot believe? As you look into it, you feel like this is likely real, and I can't believe it's real.
Oh man, all of it.
All
Yeah,
of
Just
it.
I'm
kidding.
suckered in. I'm suckered in for like the true crime stuff. I love the JFK. I love the John Benet Ramsey. I love all that stuff. But it's just now today's like I don't even know how to feel about it. But like when we look up at the sky and we see drones, like are these angels or demons, or is it just some crackpot with a drone and like remote controller and stuff? So
Yeah, I mean, this journey for me, it's been a lot of like, just the thought of like the whole starting from Genesis 6 of like the fallen angels and or the Watchers and like even like the Book of Enoch. That's really stretched my paradigm, and I don't know. It's just thinking outside of the norm of what we've been taught our whole lives, but also holding it true to Scripture because I never want to like lead people astray to where it's like, oh yeah, you talk about watchers and like there could have been ancient civilizations that were doing this, that, and that, but then all of a sudden like, oh yeah, well Jesus is an alien. It's like, well, okay, well, chill out. That's not
hold on.
that's not where I'm going. But
This is
like,
not Angel Studios, okay?
yeah,
Sorry, go ahead.
but like really just being okay with like getting outside of what you've been taught your whole life, at least with the narrative of, I don't know, just the narrative that we've just always been taught. I really feel like we don't have the full scope of everything that happened before the flood, and like everything that even happened after it. I think there's a lot more detail and a lot more crazy stories that don't necessarily pertain to salvation or the gospel in a full sense. But for me, it's given more of a, it's just like made it more
Interesting.
interesting, but like
There's a
bigger.
confidence. Yeah.
It's given more color to the story, if that
Yeah.
makes sense. Instead of just being told, yeah, before the flood, all the people were just really bad, and so that's why God flooded the whole earth. But then it's just like, well, could it be the fact that fallen angels came down, created the Nephilim, and there's all this weird, crazy stuff happening? Could that have been a big part of it as well? You
Which, by
know?
the way, is far more evangelistic because people are interested in that.
Yeah,
They want to have that conversation, and the Bible has a lot to say about it.
Yeah.
yeah.
I think that's what blew my mind is that like so many people are having these conversations because it makes me feel like I'm crazy when we're just sitting in a room talking about this to ourselves. But then we upload it or we see a similar video posted by somebody else and we say all the comments are people are like, oh, this is what that means. This is like, oh, I remember like, and it's like, okay, we're not alone in this. And I think one of the first stories that like blew my mind that kind of opened up because when we talk about like the interesting thing, like when you dive deeper, I think to me it just gives me more confidence in God. Like just okay, I really don't understand you now, but these things are even like it's just so much more. You were already great. Now it's like holy moly, you have so much more hidden than we ever even realize. And I mean, even the New Testament calls it the mystery of the gospel. And so one of the first stories I remember is the Gobekli Tepe. Like, we brush over that so much, but when you go back to it, it's like literally 10,000-ton stones
Hmm.
that are the oldest civilization ever now. Like, it literally changed everything when they found that in the 90s, where it's like, oh, this is the oldest ancient civilization. And then they found that, they're like, wait a minute, this is super civilized, like all these
Yeah.
markings, all this stuff. And then it had to have meant something. And so, like, really, we just have no idea what's going on. So that's why I like it, because it's like, cool, you do know what you're talking about, God. You know what happened, and we certainly do not. But I love that He allows us to just discover more and more, like the Shroud of Turin, all these things. It's just fascinating.
Yeah.
How about you? What was one of the most interesting stories that really got your attention?
Me or Andy?
Yeah.
Yeah. Carl.
Well, me.
Carl with 3 L's, right?
Coral.
Yeah, Carl of 20 L's. The craziest story. Um, I mean, I guess kind of like just the Gobekli Tepe was one of the craziest things to me, especially in the regards of because I was studying like the Book of Enoch and the Watchers and all this stuff. And even I just happened to stumble across that passage in the Book of Jasher, um, where it talks about it was Noah's grandson that was traveling south and or traveling down, or I forget where he was traveling,
Whatever direction, yeah.
but he came across it says these giant stone pillars that had the teachings of the Watchers on them. And he wrote them down, and he was afraid of Noah would be really mad at him that he found these. And then it talks about them being deliberately buried. And then, I mean, that to me, I was just like, this is insane. Like, this is like such a crazy connection. But even like we talked about, which is a podcast that comes out on Friday, but this mountain in Russia called Mount Vodavara, I believe, and they call it the Death Mountain. But they're accounts of these godlike beings coming down from the sky, creating a giant race, and then there being a giant flood to wipe out these giants, but some of them escaping. You're just like
What?
that. Yeah, it's insane. And like this is stories that were told thousands and thousands of years ago by this tribe in Russia. And then, but we've come across stories from South America, Central America, Asia, just all over. And you're just like, this cannot be a coincidence of like this underlying theme of star people, watchers, these godlike beings, and then giants and a great flood. I'm like, to me, I'm like, this is amazing. It gets me hyped.
I mean, because even if I mean, think about that. If we pulled an experiment where it was like, okay, we're going to have people from all across the world say they saw something in the sky last night. Let's all have the same story. Even that would be hard to believe, because it'd be like the coordination of it. It's like, they didn't
Yeah.
have the internet back then. They didn't have any of it. It's like, but yet we have all of these stories from all different cultures and different backgrounds, all claiming to see the same thing. And that's what scares me mostly, because I'm not an alien guy. Like, I love the idea of it, but I'm like, I don't know what it is. And so it's stuff like that that terrifies me, because it's like, we don't know. Crop circles. I'm obsessed with crop circles. And there's just so much detail that people just like skim over, because they're like, okay, crop circles, you're crazy. But it's like, that's the whole
So
point.
why not skim
It's a,
over it? Why do you say it's not crazy? What's the big deal about crop circles? Why can't it be just a bunch of kids with some twine and some 2x4s and they're just pushing down those crop
don't
circles?
get us started.
okay, listen, we don't have all the time in the world, but there is, I mean, Y Files does a great breakdown on it. There's a couple documentaries out there. But just the idea that, one, there's traces of radiation the days after. I mean, that's, and when there wasn't before, there's huge, ginormous acres and acres of crop circles that are put up overnight across from Stonehenge, where there's 24-hour security. Literally happens right next door without them even noticing, in the night. And it's such intricate details. There's codes. We've even, I mean, I can't remember the name of it. There's some type of code that golly, what's his name? Big atheist. He's still alive,
Dawkins.
but Dawkins. They sat down with a bunch of scientists, not Scientologists. Him and Richard Dawkins, Tom Cruise sat down in a room. But these guys got together. They sent a signal basically to space just out there, right? It had our elements, our like what humans look like, how many planets are in our solar system, all that stuff in a direct code. Out of nowhere, right next to the satellite that was beaming it up, pops up an exact replica of our code, but with their information. And it literally looks like the face of the body of an alien where our human was. And there's no explanation for it. There's people in Britain, like in the 70s, 80s, that claimed they were doing it, and they showed them and there was a bunch of hoaxes. But the stocks aren't broke whenever actual
Yeah, they're typically
actual crop circles
folded
are
over
found.
and sometimes weaved together.
Basket weaved, dude. It's crazy. And whenever you say crop circles, people just like, okay, whatever. You look into it, it doesn't make sense. And that's the type of stuff that just drives me crazy,
Is
man.
that the intention behind the predictive programming and the incessant bombarding of this in media and movies to make people say, crop circle?
Oh yeah,
I mean, definitely. There's a reason why Pentagon has a film division. Yeah. Like there's gotta be some type. I mean, I think it was Eisenhower or Roosevelt. Someone said that movies and media are going to be the biggest source of just, like spreading information, using it as a tool to sway. Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's what he's saying, but it was a nice way of saying propaganda.
Operation Mockingbird. It's all Mockingbird. What if all of
it's
LA,
crazy,
all of Hollywood
man.
is Mockingbird?
Oh, I think so.
Absolutely. I mean, why not? If there's power to be made, also money to be made, people are always trying to do favors for everyone else, and so it's just.
Tell you, there's not a lot of stuff that we immediately dismiss. We like to ponder on some things.
We'll entertain it for a while.
There's some when I first heard that Bigfoot could be interdimensional, I'm just like, okay, let's chill out for a second. But then you come across stories like what I was talking about earlier, that Mount Vodavara in Russia. They talk about these giant beings being able to go into different dimensions on this mountain. And I'm just like, well, what is this? This is messing
scary
with my head, dude.
Yeah, because you tell yourself, okay, that's not real, but then you keep hearing it over and over again. You're like, what am I supposed to do? So we always have those conversations, but most of the time it usually ends us with, especially Josh being scared and then saying, but we trust in Jesus. And so it's always kind of like our safety net. And so that's the cool thing is like everyone's having these conversations, everyone's thinking it, but maybe not everyone has the trust and the faith that we have in the next life. And so luckily we have that opportunity to share some of that stuff.
Men's hearts will fail them for fear. And there's so much deception out there, so much propaganda, so much being pumped through social media that a lot of people are scared and they want to have an answer. And luckily the church has an interesting story to tell if we'll just tell it. Someone said the world's been lying well, but we've been telling the truth badly.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's a good one.
Yeah. I do find it very interesting that this topic of, I hope it's not just our bubble that we're in, but it seems like the topic of, actually, I know it's not because the U.S. government's talking about it, but like aliens and cryptids and the weird ancient civilizations, all this stuff. Like Joe Rogan's bringing on these people talking about ancient civilizations and their technology and all that, whatever. But in my mind, it's almost like that. I don't actually want to say this, but I feel like why did God give at least myself and Andy and Andrew, my wife, this platform where we're really not highly intelligent. We're not. We love to explore and we love Jesus, right? But all I can think about is, especially on this journey where God said it'll before his return, it will be like the days of Noah. And the path I'm on now, it really seems like the days of Noah were something way more extraordinarily weird, just like crazy. And now the U.S. government's talking about aliens and UFOs and UAPs, and we're getting whistleblowers coming out talking about they were part of the what do you call them, recovery crew for picking up these UFOs, and it's just like it really kind of seems like, are we getting into like the days of Noah kind of thing with like this weird fallen angel craziness that is starting to appear? Because I mean,
we got rivers of blood right now happening in Africa. So
yeah, Yeah, and
Argentina.
South America.
That's not prophetic at all.
Yeah, not at all.
Yeah.
Definitely not. That's not a seven
Well, the
tron.
Apostle Paul said God's calling. He doesn't call many wise, many gifted, and I think we all qualify for that.
He
But
does.
I'm in the
He
same
used
camp with
Moses to
you
stutter.
because I didn't want to. I had to write this book, Summoning the Demon, AI,
Nice.
Aliens, and the Antichrist.
Not a sponsor.
Not a sponsor. It is the sponsor. But I did that because I saw so many Christians drifting into these conversations without any attachment to the word. So they would go down the rabbit hole, and then they
Yeah.
wouldn't come out again. And so I want to make sure, let's connect these things. So I approached it. Every good alien conversation has a Mulder and a Scully, and I came to it like a Scully, the skeptic. What does the Bible have to say about these things? And you're right, the Bible has a lot to say about these things, and so does the world. They're fascinated with this, and
Yeah.
we need to be able to talk about it.
And I also find it very interesting where it talks about in the end there'll be this great deception, and what a greater deception would it be than people abandoning scripture but holding on to physically seeing some weird stuff happening, but then being deceived as like, oh, there's no God, there's no Christ. We are all part of this universe. Actually, we're here before you and we made you. Like to me that could logically happen now
Yeah.
with this progression that we're seeing.
Well,
Which
it's already
that's
believed by
whatever.
Richard Dawkins, who you mentioned earlier, the author of The God Delusion. He believes life was seeded on this planet by aliens. That's a possibility, a greater
Yeah.
possibility than God creating life.
Yeah. And we see
That guy just sounds angry.
Yeah, he did. Yeah.
We see. I just saw a clip recently of Gary. Have y'all heard of Gary Wayne, by the way?
Gary Wayne, no, I don't think
Sounds
so.
familiar,
Oh,
but
he wrote the Genesis 6 conspiracy.
Yeah.
oh yes, yeah.
Really, like, very prolific writer, and he was talking about King Charles, and we're starting to see kind of these Nephilim like connections, at least, with what's going on in the world today. Have you guys heard of King Charles's lineage?
Yeah, with Vlad the Impaler.
Vlad the
The
Impaler.
Dracula?
I
Yeah.
knew they were on top of this. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Dude, it's just so scary.
It's
so
weird.
scary. All of the governments have such dark ties. It's so terrifying. Like Jackal Island,
Yeah.
literally just like the Rockefellers, all these rich families ruining some Native Americans' land and literally like starting the Federal Reserve over a sacrificial altar.
Yeah.
I'm like, this isn't great. Just
It
use a
can't be
ballroom
real,
or
right?
something.
It can't be real until you look into it. It's like, yeah, no, this is real.
That's what I'm saying.
It
That's
drives me
why
crazy.
we don't dismiss anything right off the bat, because it's like if you were to go back a year ago and tell me that the Federal Reserve was made over an ancient Native American sacrificial monument in Georgia, I'd be like, okay, buddy.
This is the first
Take a
time I'm
walk.
hearing. I think this is the first time I'm hearing this.
Yeah.
You got
Oh.
to watch it. We talked about it a while back, but it still is wrecked me because it's just completely confirmed and it's so scary. And you're right. Like any person you tell, they're like, whatever. And also it's like, okay, what do I do with this information? I'm like,
Right.
maybe don't stick your head in the ground and think our government's literally trying to take care of us all the time.
Yeah.
They've got a plan.
So
I don't
going
know.
back to
Maybe
Vlad
I'm
the
going off the
Impaler,
edge.
which is interesting, which is representative, Evan. I think did you have a clip you wanted to show of that?
Yeah, let me pull that up real fast.
Nice.
Let's see. Okay, so Gary Wayne tracks back the lineage of Vlad the Impaler. So it goes, he doesn't stop it. This is Gary Wayne's specialty. He loves going back to Genesis, and so let me see if I
That's
can pull this
rad.
up.
Bloodlines all over the world. So King Charles, for example, formerly Prince Charles, he's on record as talking about descending from Vladimir the Great. Or I'm not not Vladimir the Great, Vladimir the Impaler out of the Romanian Transylvania region. And that's interesting because he has those genealogies that go back through the Hanover dynasty. They changed their names from Hanover to Windsor in World War I. And it goes back to the individual that Dracula, meaning son of a dragon or a seraphim, is named after, A being the suffix for a son. And that it doesn't stop there, that bloodline takes their genealogies back to a Scythian tribe or an Indo-Aryan tribe after the flood that's called the Agrathi. And there's another branch is scioned in there that goes back to another fallen angel, Tamiel or Kezadea, as he's listed in the book of Enoch. But on the other side, on the patriarchal side, it goes back to Hercules, who's the son of Zeus, who married Alcmene, a human female that to produce Hercules. And that's part of the Herculides bloodline, or the
How insane
Gyges
is that?
kings after.
This is like a college course on Vlad the Impaler's lineage. But you got to
No,
wonder
that's insane.
how legit is that?
I think it's. I mean, did you ever hear about that? It was a 5th grade girl
Yeah.
that did the whole lineage thing and found out that every single president, except there was one, but they ended up finding
Yeah,
out
they
it's
did.
still
Related.
connected, all related to one ancient king. And it's
Is
like,
that true? I've heard that before.
That
every
one
single
one is
president-
legit.
Come on, you guys have verified this. that
I
every
mean, just
president
through
is
Look it up
related.
again.
just through Google. I don't know how much you can trust that, but
Google
the whole
propaganda.
story was that she did this whole report and they proved it to be true. Even I believe Trump is even as well.
Yeah.
And so that
Which then made
feeds
me think
into
King
this
John of England.
Yeah.
King John of England. So that feeds into this idea that there are certain elite organizations, families that are controlling the world and put people in power.
That's what
It would make sense.
yeah.
I mean, those who write history are those are the winners, right? The winners are the ones who write history. However that saying goes. I'm like that. It makes sense that over time you realize, listen, in 100 years, these people are going to be dead. They're not going to know what really happened. They don't really know what the deal is. And so if we can all choose to get together, make deals, keep each other in power, help each other out over time, I mean, it makes sense. Why wouldn't you do that? I mean, you're not going to leave it up to just anyone. You're going to want to continue what you're building and your family and all that stuff. And so I don't know, man. Especially with these these such advanced societies, like there's got to be some darkness to it. And I think
Yeah.
we've just seen it over and over and over again. Freaking Dracula, dude.
A modern
I want to
Dracula.
be your king.
Well, in these
One.
organizations, we see wars like the Civil War. People are finding now that the Civil War was brought about by some of these people from Europe that are trying to control the banking system in America. And
Yeah.
because it started up north and it just caused all of this friction and a war broke out to maintain land grab. And I don't want to go too deep into that because
No, I'm telling you,
too far
this
there.
has been the journey we've been on, or I've been on, especially, is just like, just not fully trusting the narrative that we've been taught our whole lives. And like part of that was like, so we had these friends from England and they're living in the US now, but we were talking one night, I'm like, mentioned something about us beating them in the Revolutionary War. And they're like, what is that?
What?
And I'm like, the Revolutionary War, the war where we fought you and we beat you. And they're like, yeah, we were never really taught that.
No, they weren't. No, they didn't say that.
It was both of them.
Yeah.
And I was just like, okay. And so my whole thing is just like, it's just that kind of just messed with my whole reality. It's just like, well, what if we've been taught that
we're taught something, we assume it's true, we assume it's common knowledge, so we don't talk about it.
Yeah.
And like it's like, no, that's crazy. Like all these JFK, MLK files that are coming out, like things change, man. Like it's just, I don't know, it's so wacky because you can't hold on to one thing without hold too tightly without just kind of being open-minded a little bit.
Yeah.
And
so they didn't have any concept of, we'll get JFK in a second, no concept of the American Revolution, the most seminal event in human history.
Well, to us, it was. To them, who gives a crap?
Well, it kind of gave birth to the first land of the free, home of the brave.
Freedom.
They thought
You know- you know
I
that
think
whole
they
thing,
thought they
free
were free the whole
speech, you know that
time.
thing?
Yeah,
Well, they hired out mercenaries anyway to fight it, right?
pretty
Wow.
much.
Wasn't them.
Like,
Yeah,
why does it
so
matter to
that-
them? Well, I don't know. Freedom? Wow. That's wild.
I mean,
Yeah,
I've
well,
even
it
been
shouldn't
finding out that
surprise
like
me.
some
Because I saw
That,
this
like, they're-
video of these kids in England where they've never had biscuits and gravy. They didn't know what was going on with that.
Oh yeah,
You know, so
Yeah.
that blew my mind. My worldview was completely destroyed with that.
yeah.
I bet they've never smiled.
What is this? Why is my face?
What's happening to me?
Okay, so you mentioned JFK a couple times and the MLK files that are coming out. Now, of course, MLK specifically, they're saying a lot of these files were forged, or it was said in order to disparage MLK. I guess we'll start with MLK. How much of what's coming out do you think is true?
I don't know much about what's going on. I've just seen some breakdowns of it, and I don't know. I don't.
Truthfully, I've heard enough to know that there's probably a very different story about MLK, but part of me is just like, I don't know how much that would benefit my well-being to fully
Yeah.
know, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, never
Because
meet
I
your
mean,
heroes. Never meet your
yeah,
heroes.
It's like learning your
I mean,
ancestors fought and lost in the Revolutionary War.
yeah,
It's just
yeah,
They owned a
exactly.
plantation. What?
No, just like I mean, like even before the MLK files came out, I saw just these different documents, and like one dude did a huge investigative journalist thing, basically finding out that MLK was very much a part of the communist organization, and like
Yes.
you're just like, all right, well, cool.
Now,
Like,
disclaimer: you always want to give a disclaimer when talking about MLK. This is not does not in any way discount the advances that were made for
oh,
racial
absolutely,
equality in the United States of
yeah,
America and the civil
No.
rights movement. We don't need we celebrate that, and we always will, no matter how fallible the leaders may be. But that
yeah,
being said, MLK was a communist and he was not a Christian. But
yeah, and that was the other thing is just like finding out about him potentially not being a Christian just was kind of like, oh man, well
And there's part of you
that's a
that doesn't
bummer.
want to believe it, but then like that's the
Yeah.
part of your brain you're like, okay, or is that healthy? You know, if something's pushed out in your face as an absolute fact, then it's like, oh, maybe I
And a
should.
lot of stuff too is just like the more research you do, the more bummed out you get that it's like, yeah, we are living the land of the free, right? But like, how free is it? Because it seems like there's been a narrative that's been painted since day one. Like, I mean, like even going back into like Freemasonry and like George Washington and all this stuff, it's like I heard this one story once that George Washington, anytime in church, the Holy Spirit was mentioned that he would get up and walk out of the church because he was that adamantly opposed against the Holy Spirit. And I'm just like, well, that's a bummer, right?
yeah,
So,
yeah.
and it's just like the more and more you get into it, you're just like it just becomes a little disparaging, and you're just like, oh, okay, well, I don't know.
And he had wooden
I
teeth.
don't know. Yeah,
Yeah,
There's that.
there's a tendency to lose hope there, but that's what Jesus is
he didn't
for.
really have wooden teeth, right? It was like made out of like
I don't
It
know.
was
I don't
human
even know what
bones
that
and stuff.
means. What does it mean to
It
have
was
wooden teeth?
slave teeth.
Yeah, that's why. Yeah,
That's
Yeah,
right, slave
it's
teeth, yes.
crazy.
a
Yeah.
way worse story.
I'm sure they
It's
were.
terrible.
I'm sure they were donated.
Yeah,
No.
yeah.
So when we went to the Capitol building, they took it. Our guide took us to this room. I don't know that a lot of people go to. Showed us the foundation of the Capitol building, and it was a messianic symbol there at the very foundation of the Capitol building. So there's no doubt there's some nefarious
Not
roots.
messianic, Masonic.
Masonic, yes. Excuse
I
me.
was gonna say that's
Excuse me,
good
Candace
for the
Owens.
capital.
Don't run wild.
I was like,
with
praise
that.
God.
Yeah, don't run wild with that, Candace. I misspoke. So when we talk about kind of the dark underbelly of the United States government and the release of the JFK files, what do you think is going to come out?
Nothing important. I
Probably
don't think.
nothing.
I
Nothing's gonna
think
happen.
I think stuff could come out, but the narrative, I believe it's not going to be touched on. They're gonna, if they need to use it, in my opinion, if they need to use it to distract from
Distract.
something else,
Yeah.
they'll pour into it. But besides that, I think everyone pretty much knows that what what happened.
Yeah, I mean they were
That our
set
own
to.
government was involved in the elimination of
But if you're
JFK.
Trump and you're RFK and you now know that you have access to those files, then you're going to take action. I'm sure you don't want the same thing to happen to you.
Yeah, I mean, I don't. What are they going to do about it though? You know, it's like I
Yes.
think what they're doing now is like if they are truly going after the deep state and the corruption within, I think
Anyone who's responsible is dead. Anyone
yeah,
could that be held accountable is dead.
I don't know.
It's a tough one, man, because you know.
Would what happened to Nixon just happen again? Would that be because he was supposedly going to expose the deep state in his words?
Yeah,
and didn't last long.
I think I have a crazy theory that this is it's totally unhinged. This is like just the way my brain works. I think they allowed Trump to become elected president because there's a bigger plan that is going to change the course of history, the course of the United States and worldwide governments, whether that's a one world government, whether that's whatever. But I think Trump was potentially put in place as a scapegoat kind of thing. And
I
that's
mean,
totally there's unfounded. That's just a gut feeling. I don't know.
Because what they have planned, even he can't stop, is what your suggestion. Or are you
Yeah, I
suggesting
think
they're going to do something through him that will help to trigger it?
I think it
think-
could be
yeah.
either or, but I definitely think that I think that my personal belief is that the election system is not fully validated,
up and up?
legible, whatever. Yeah, it's like I think it's
It
all
can't be.
predetermined pretty much. And I think that they may have seen this uprise and Trump coming, so they're like, yeah, let's just let him become president. He is popular right now, but they have their own little whoever they are.
So,
Shout
so
out.
U.S. politics is basically a glorified WWE match now. Is that what you're saying?
It kind of seems like it, doesn't it?
Just with less steel chairs, and that's what's like the
Yeah.
bummer about it. Like
What do you
Bring
want
in
with
the
that?
cage.
Nancy
Yeah.
Pelosi in a steel cage match. That's what we need. That's what America needs.
Yeah.
We got
So-
Logan Paul in there.
So Trump, Trump had Laura Trump, who was, I guess, co-chair of the RNC. She was threatening to sue. She had people in every polling station making sure things were on the up and up as much as possible. Do you think they'll be able to get the election system back to one voting day, paper ballots? What do you think?
No, I don't think so.
Wow.
It's tough to tell
I
because
mean, I don't know.
I was so
I hope I'm wrong.
I was
right?
so nervous before the election, and now I don't like it because it felt like something was coming, but now it feels kind of like it's in the right. I don't know. It's hard to tell, man. It's hard to get like a pulse on the whole thing because it's so wacky, and like it's always this past year has been so unpredictable. Past 5 years, obviously from 2020, but like, yeah, I mean, I don't know what the next 4 years is going to hold. I'm big on like the 250th anniversary thing.
Yeah.
Because that's like ancient civilizations on average only last
Mm-hmm.
250 years. And so we're getting pretty advanced. And I don't know how we just continue to like keep it running smoothly so people don't bomb. And we have this huge post apocalyptic world that we're living in. Like, I don't see it calming down.
Yeah.
I mean, everyone wants power. We have AI, quantum computers happening right now. It's like, it's going to lead to something.
Quantum computers connect to artificial intelligence that are lying to us because they don't
Yeah, I
want to
think
be
it's a
deleted.
game over
Yeah.
scenario.
Yeah. It's terrifying.
And on that note, ladies and gentlemen, check out Sunday Cool. Subscribe. No, but you guys, so we're going to talk a little bit more about did NASA build a cage for Megalodon? And I'm laughing, but this is a serious question. And what exactly is the FAA saying about drones? Why are they potentially lying about drones? Trump's statement about drones. We're going to talk about that in our uncensored section of the program over on Revival Nation. So, guys, if you want to hear that conversation, go to revivalnation.com. Revivalnation.com. Become a member to help us support and be a blessing to the persecuted church around the world. And to say thank you for that, we give you access to a lot of uncensored content. But, guys, what are some of the things you do, and how can people connect with you? Because you do shirts.
You also do hats.
You do
right?
hats.
We do hats.
We do
yeah.
anything you can put a logo on. We do all custom apparel.
And it's great
promotional
quality.
items, so.
From what I hear, it's some of the best quality stuff. It's not going to be like,
Oh, it's top notch.
Heck yeah, Alan, it's the best.
That's
We have the
what.
best customer service in a 72-hour turnaround.
Yep.
wow.
It's incredible.
Wow. So how do they connect with that?
SundayCool.com, and you can learn more about us there. And then our YouTube is Sunday Cool Tees or Sunday Cool.
Yeah, you just type in
Yeah.
Sunday Cool. You'll find us.
And
Ninjas
you
are
can find
butterflies.
our podcast there. And yeah,
So you talk about all this kind of stuff. Basically, every day a video is being posted about this kind of stuff. If they're
yep.
interested,
Every
go
week,
subscribe.
every Friday, we come out with our Ninjas or Butterflies podcast, and then cut it up into 7 parts. And every day we're posting something. So
Sometimes we sing songs too, tell poop
We do.
stories.
yep.
I noticed.
So
that.
it's it's a nice little palate cleanser
Yeah.
between all the fear and
So,
anxiety.
and we'll talk a little bit about that on the uncensored part of the program, and we'll ask why are ninjas butterflies?
Butterflies
yeah.
are ninjas.
You know what I mean.
Yeah.
It's vice versa. It doesn't matter.
Dyslexic or dyslexic would is the proper way to say it. Thanks, guys, for being with us on the program.
Thanks
Of
for having
course.
us, man.
Thanks for
Appreciate
having
ya.
us.
All right, we'll see you over on Revival Nation. Everybody go check them out.
Do it.
I've been watching this debate for decades, and I can't stay silent any longer. You have been lied to about the rapture, and I'm taking the cover off. After 25 years of research and study, I'm going to be exposing the lies, the myths, and the misrepresentations, because they told you the rapture was a fantasy. They said it was a recent invention with no biblical foundation. Others told you that before anything bad happens, you'll magically escape. Well, guess what? They all lied to you about the rapture, and in my latest book, we're going to dig deep into Scripture, history, and Bible prophecy to show you the truth and why it matters now more than ever. The rapture isn't an escape plan. It's a wake-up call. Order your copy today and discover the hope of his soon return, because hope is worth defending.